Good evening, everyone. Tonight's show is all about the Immigration and Asylum Bill. And before we get going, I just want to have the Labour Party members. We've got Labour Party members in, yeah? Because what I want to do is, in the next kind of like, however long this takes, it'll be about 45 minutes, I'm going to try and persuade you to put your card in here. All right? I'm going to try and persuade you to throw away your card and I'll cut them up for you. OK? That's what I'm going to do, because the party of which you are a member of, which is now in government, is about to bring in a bill that will apply to people who are running away from torture, rape, murder of their families, persecution. It's going to remove asylum seekers from most of the Housing Act, so they have no protection, they can just be kicked out. It is going to force asylum seekers to be made destitute by the state, to stigmatise them, and to live below the poverty line. I'm sure you don't agree with that. So, where do we start? You start with any sort of discussion on immigration and stuff like that. You start with the concept of Britishness. You know, that is involved somewhere. And I'm very proud to be British at times. You know, so Pinochet gets arrested. Yes! The weird thing is the concept of Britishness, because you often go, I'm British, just pure British. Well, no, you're not pure British, because we've been invaded by Celts, Vikings, Normans and Romans. So if you're saying I'm pure British, what you're saying is I'm some kind of wop, spick, eye-tie, frog, dago, dane, bastard, porn star, paddy mick cocktail with a twist of Jew bastard, possibly. You know, we're a mongrel nation, and I'm proud of that. But it's weird, for bigots and racists, there's no logic. And the ones that I love are, all right, they might be odd up, but why do they have to come here? And what I like to do, I like to look at them and say, well, there's a couple of reasons, possibly. Firstly, because legally and morally we have a duty to protect people fleeing persecution, and Britain's quite a hard place to get into, so they must be very desperate. Plus, added into that is the fact that there are bastards like you all over the world going, why do they have to come over here? So there's either that reason, or they're doing it to personally annoy you. All the refugees in the world had a great big meeting, circulated your photograph, said, let's get him. And then you get the kind of, yeah, but why should I pay my money so they should take my money? Well, asylum seekers aren't allowed to work. Why should it be my money? And the weird thing is, people who think that, why should I give them my money? I feel sorry for them, because they have a genuine belief that if the government kicked out all refugees and asylum seekers, saving millions of pounds, that they would see some of it. Ding dong, hello, council, kicked out the refugees, just come to fix your grand's ball cock and here's a gold ingot. Off you go. In Kosovo, we kind of think, oh, well, we're doing all right, we're off to a slow start, but we're doing okay. And I just want to show you this bit. We met up with Anne Clwyd, the MP, who went to Macedonia, and she talked to people from the UN, and they're dishing out forms to refugees. And the forms were about where you could go and how you might get there.
I asked the UNHCR people on the spot, and they said, well, every country, every European Union country, plus the United States, have actually said how many refugees they're taking. They've said what their quota is for each country. But the United Kingdom hasn't given us a quota, so they're not down on the form of countries the refugees can tick. So when I came back to the UK, obviously I started asking questions about it, because I assumed our policy was different. And then I was told that it was an administrative error.
It's also weird, because we got this report from a French journalist who went to Macedonia and was shown an internal United Nations High Commission for Refugees document. And that document detailed advice to aid workers, telling them what countries wanted which specific type of refugees. And in it, this is roughly what it's saying, is the Israelis want children of high intelligence, which is a bit odd. You've just seen your dad shot off a tractor and your house blown up. Come on in, there's an oral exam, then a multiple choice. That's kind of weird. The Americans don't want people with HIV or AIDS. The Australians don't want medical cases. Britain does want medical cases, but only if they're single, because families tend to settle. And you suddenly think, excuse me, isn't this cleansing in another name here? This is very, very weird. Now, then you think, well, we're doing all right by them, aren't we? We're accepting thousands. Remember a month ago, the war was a month in, and Britain had agreed to accept 161 refugees. Thousands pouring over the border, and we've said, we'll have 161. NATO have fucking killed more than that. And we'll have 161. And then it kind of bumped up a bit. It said, no, we'll have a few thousand, it's all right. Because Tony went over there. And there's people going, Tony, Tony! And the press are saying, look at the adulation. No, it's desperation. You know, you then look at the Kosovans who came before, or you look at the other people who are fleeing persecution, the other asylum seekers. And we thought, right, we're going to go and try and find out about the bill. We went into Parliament, right, to visit the committee stage, because they discussed the bill in committee stage, and the public are allowed to watch. And the thing they were talking about when I got there was they were talking about making asylum seekers sell their assets before they could claim any benefit. Right? That means if you're a single bloke and you've got over 200 quid worth of assets, you've got to pawn them, live off them, before they'll give you any benefit. And I'm sitting looking round the committee room. Half the Labour people who are there to scrutinise the bill and have chosen to be on the committee are nodding off. There's a bloke writing letters, a Labour MP writing letters. And I thought, this is probably what it's been like the world over. Adolf Hitler having a meeting about the final solution, and in the corner, some bloke, 3 down. Oh, Guillemot. There's this banality of evil. And Diane Abbott, the MP, stood up and said, is the Minister for Immigration, Mike O'Brien, is he telling me that we are going to force asylum seekers to sell their jewellery before they can get assistance from the state? Mike O'Brien stands up and says, that is just what we intend to do.
They have to strip off their rings and jewellery and pawn it before they can get any help whatsoever, and the help will just be food vouchers. You know, if Michael Howard had suggested this, the Labour Party, Mike O'Brien himself, and the Liberal press would have been screaming from the rooftops. But New Labour does it, and everyone is curiously silent.
So I waited outside. I thought, I'm going to get Mike O'Brien, Immigration Minister. So O'Brien comes out, hello, I'm Mark Thomas from Channel 4, and he's off down the corridor doing that kind of Olympic walk. The week afterwards, I went into the committee again, and this time I went in with this lady here who's rather lovely, and her name's Bea Green. Hello there, lovely to have you. And Bea came from Nazi Germany in '38 on the Kinder transport.
After the Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass in November '38, Jews were in dire straits in German-occupied territory, and they wanted more Jews to be allowed to come into the country. And a little bit like today, the answer was no. But they persevered and said, well, what about children?
So you're a refugee from Hitler's Nazi
Yes,
Germany?
I was a refugee from Hitler's Germany, yes.
And we went in to see Mike O'Brien, and Mike O'Brien comes out of the committee. We were waiting for him outside. He comes out, hello, Mr. O'Brien, I'd like you to meet Bea Green. And he just went, hello, Bea. Off down, didn't he? He was straight down the corridor, and he's doing this kind of head down to sort of like avoid the wind resistance, kind of like this. And I'm after him, and you couldn't keep up. He was just pelting off. I was chasing him going, I just wondered if you'd like to talk to Bea Green, because she's a refugee, and she's got one thing she wants to say to you. And I'm sure she does, Mark. I admire you for trying. I really do. Well done. Lovely to see you again. I admire you for trying. You're in a private area now, Mark. You can't come here. Bye-bye. And I just thought, a democratically elected fucking MP going, they Knights can't get me. You know, Bea didn't get to see him. But we're going to show you what Bea Green wanted to say to Mr. O'Brien.
I would have loved to be able to tell him what it's actually like to be a refugee. It's wonderful in a way that you cannot imagine it, because you've lived such a normal life. But if somebody can come and tell you, nobody leaves their homeland, their bit of earth, willingly. It's a trauma. You need to be regarded like a human being. You need to be given some dignity, not just given food coupons and referred to like these people. It's very demoralizing on top of the pain that was suffered before.
You see, the old law that the Tories brought in was that if you're an asylum seeker and you married a British national, you had to prove you weren't getting married just for the passport. And the Labour government said, oh, no, that's very bad, we shall change that. And they've changed it now. Under the bill, if that goes through, it will be law now for a registrar from a registry office to report any asylum seeker who marries a British national who that registrar deems to show an insufficient love within the relationship. And we just thought, this is mad. How can they do that? So what we did was we sent every single MP a questionnaire. And we sent it off to them, and we asked them to give their nationality, their parents' nationality, and we asked them to mark their parents' loving relationship from a sort of number of 1 to 10. Now, some of them actually sent it back. And one person sent back, all right, get the point, thanks a lot. Another bloke sent us a thing back, and he only gave his parents 8. And we thought, oh, that's a bit weird, because if you get a questionnaire, you go, oh, 10. But no, they didn't deserve 10. They sent me to boarding school. It's time for payback. And another bloke called Nick Palmer didn't reply, but he wrote back to us. He didn't send the questionnaire back. He wrote and he said, this is not a proper survey. It has no academic foundation. It is, in fact, a satire. Ooh, sharp as a fucking dart there, Nick. So we thought, oh, we'll phone him because we want to chat to him. And we did phone him. And the thing we wanted to phone him about was the vouchers. Because under the Tories, some areas could give asylum seekers, instead of dole money, they could give them vouchers, which they had to spend in certain shops. Now, under the new Labour bill, every asylum seeker will get vouchers. You have to spend them at a certain shop or outlets. You have a set rate, which is they give you 70% of the benefit you would get if you got cash, so they are now being paid below the poverty line with vouchers. Then you start getting these other reports of asylum seekers on the vouchers being refused to buy a yoghurt. No, that's a luxury item. A yoghurt! Even the Daily Mail couldn't spin that one. Yeah. Refugee yoghurt scandal. When will the theft of our dairy products stop? 92-year-old pensioner said, I fought in 2 world wars and I've never received so much as a Kraft Dairy Lee triangle. It's an outrage. We met a bloke, this is completely true, we met a bloke who told us a story of his friend who tried to buy a pair of socks and a pair of pants and was told by the person on the till, take them back and put them there, you can't buy them on your vouchers. Since when has a pair of pants been a luxury? A desert island dish, Sue Lawley, what would you take as your luxury? Oh, pants! I should tell you about a guy that we talked to. Is Kosovan. He came out 2 months before the bombing started, and he's on the voucher scheme. And him and his mate live in a hostel, they cook together, they share the vouchers, it saves a bit of money, they can get a bit more with the cash if you're cooking for 2. Hate to sound like Delia, but that's the fact. So he goes to the supermarket, hands in the voucher, it's his mate voucher.
I could not explain that they were my friend's vouchers.
Nuk mundja që ti se lë dhe ato thirrën policinë të tjerë.
So they called the police.
The bloke is then arrested, taken away, kept for 5 hours, said unless you sign an official caution we'll take you to court. So he signs the caution. Then the police inform the social services who said, oh, you've got a police record, we're kicking you out of the hostel, taking away your vouchers.
Po më shikonin se ishte sikur kishte ndodhur ndonjë krim.
It seemed to me that all people were looking at me as I had committed a crime.
This guy is a guy who came from Kosovo, hasn't seen his family since October and doesn't know where they are since the bombings. So we've got a couple of questions that we wanted to ask Nick Palmer about the vouchers. Phoned him up. Hello, Nick. Oh, hello. Who's that? Mark Thomas, Channel 4. Hello. Can we have a quick chat about the vouchers? Yes. Just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that if the asylum seekers are allowed to buy shoes or something like that, You know, we're paying them below the poverty line. If the kids' shoes sort of wear out, they go to get another pair of shoes. You'd go to a sort of charity shop or a market. But you're forcing them to go to a supermarket where it's more expensive and they're below the poverty line. He said, yes, you've got a very valid point there, Mark. I said, why don't we give them the vouchers with the Queen's head on and I promise to pay the bearer? You do have a point there, Mark, yes. I mean, I should at this point out, just before we show the next clip, for legal reasons I have to, and objectivity, I have to report that Jack Straw and Mr O'Brien and Tony Blair do a lot of work for minorities. Daily Mail readers are the minorities that spring to mind.
We're doing this to appeal to readers of the Daily Mail. This is all playing to a Middle England agenda that believes that asylum seekers are all types of dreadful things. I mean, and the other thing about it is, this is what happens when you form social policy with reference to focus groups. No doubt, Tony Blair has got a focus group somewhere which said we don't really like refugees. So guess what? We force them to destitution. There's no reference to what's right, what's just. It's just what the latest focus group said about popular opinion.
So, if you're a Daily Mail reader, I just have to say this to you. The voucher scheme will cost 4 times as much to administer than the present cash benefit system. I say that not because I think that I can change your mind, but it's just good to piss you off. We thought, well, no, we've got to try and get O'Brien, right? There he is, down there. We thought, we've got to try and get to him and speak to him. There's a whole loads of stuff to talk to him about. So we think, right, we'll go and see Mike. Now, we've played 2 away games in Parliament. So we thought, right, we'll have a home game. So we visited his home. And we took with us some Kurdish dancers and a Guyanan band.
Hello there. Hello there, how are you? Hiya. Morning, I'm Mark Thomas, Channel 4, how you doing?
Tell us what's going on this morning.
We're just doing a film, we're just doing a little bit of filming here.
Is it regarding anything to anybody?
Do you mean Mr O'Brien?
Specific, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, I mean, if he comes out and says hello to us, that's very nice, you know. What's the little thing there? That one?
That's your ass.
That's a what?
That's there like a truncheon.
Is it really? Is it extendable?
Yeah.
Well, it must be, because otherwise it was very tiny. You'd just be tapping people. Well, it really, wouldn't you? OK, lovely. Right, thanks a lot. All right, see you later on. Yeah, look after yourselves. Morning, Mr O'Brien. Do you like the parade we've got for you? It's we just thought, because your bill seems to be a bit frightened of sort of different cultures, we'd show you there's nothing to be frightened of. So we're just sort of putting this little sort of parade on so you can see there's all sorts of things that sort of asylum seekers bring to Britain that's very positive. We hope you like it. Do you like
Wonderful, Mark.
Excellent.
I'm a great fan of your programme.
Great. We just wanted to show you all the different sort of culture that you could be encouraging. And instead of saying take away sort of asylum seekers' jewellery and things like that.
I very much welcome many of the immigrants who come to this country, like my family.
Yeah.
Both my parents.
Absolutely. But so why are you taking away people's jewellery, though? Because you're actually saying that you're going to take away asylum seekers' jewellery, aren't you?
You haven't understood.
But you're saying that, aren't you?
About. Can you get off my...
But you are going to do that because you've said that 1/3 of the asylum seekers get granted.
You cannot take the piss out of Kosovo.
I'm not, though, am I?
Serious an
I'm
issue.
not taking the piss out of Kosovo, am I? Why am I taking the piss out of Kosovo with these people?
Did you not write a letter to me?
Why am I taking the
asking
piss
for
out
an
of people?
interview
to talk
on
about
Kosovo
and the refugees
said you wanted to do
and
a
the
comedy
immigration?
hour.
No, we never said that. I'm afraid you're lying.
Yes, you...
No, we didn't.
Hey, come on.
Because we're doing a whole... Well, look at it. It says half an hour.
Was
So
it
the point
half
being
an hour?
is, because you're not very good with statistics, because you said 30% of the asylum seekers get granted leave to remain, but you haven't included all the people who win on appeal. It brings it up to nearly 50%.
You're wrong. It's wrong.
So you haven't. So you have included people who are granted leave to remain on after appeal. Have you done that?
Mark, I have.
Yes. You have done it. Well, why are all the groups saying that you haven't? That you're supposed to have consulted with?
Well,
are they lying?
Well,
so Asylum Aid's lying and Refugee Council's lying?
Well, that wouldn't be a first time, Mark.
Well, let me ask you then. We met a bloke the other day, Mr. O'Brien.
Now, it's interesting what he's just said there, because he's actually accused Asylum Aid of lying, he's accused the Refugee Council of lying, and they're a government-funded body. He's also indicated that, in fact, the asylum seekers who win on appeal are included in the figures. Now, that's kind of interesting because these are Home Office statistics. All the Home Office statistics on asylum seekers carry this little note saying, information is of initial determination decisions, excluding the outcome of appeals or other subsequent decisions. Curious, Mike. In fact, it gets even more curious because in an answer in the House of Lords, Lord Williams, a spokesman on immigration up there, he says, a government spokesman, he said, I regret that equivalent information on grants of asylum or exceptional leave following an initial refusal could only be obtained through the examination of individual case files and therefore at disproportionate cost. So the question here really is who's lying, frankly. Is it Mike O'Brien who's lying? Is it the Home Office who's lying? Is it Lord Williams who's lying? Mike, answers on a postcard, you know where we are. So, it's kind of weird because there are lots of people who are given leave to appeal. There are a huge amount who aren't. These are some of the reasons that have been given for refusing people asylum. These are since the Labour Party has come to power. You state that the men drove you to a place 1.5 hours away and told you to run before they opened fire on you. The Secretary of State considers that if the men intended to kill you, they would have done so straight away, rather than give you a chance of escape. Fact. At an appeal, an Algerian was asked, if they really wanted to get you, why did they shoot you in the leg and not the head? Then we have, and this is an appeal determination, while I noticed the appellant to be quietly tearful when recalling her alleged rapes and that of her mother's death, as she did so when examined by the doctor, I am unable to ascertain that such tears were not contrived to create a sympathetic impression on me and the doctor. You then have Mr. O'Brien here. That's one of his better quotes. He was shown a picture of a torture victim. He said it proved nothing. I just see a man who's thin. Now, Labour government might be going ahead with this bill. There's bits we can do to stop it. It doesn't have to happen in your name, right? So I want you to pass the glass around. Any Labour Party members with their cards, if you want it to happen in your name, keep hold of it. If it's not, put it in. We'll cut it up for you. Now, on a quite weird and cheery note, just as this goes round, I want to tell you about this. We thought there's got to be a way that we can beat the voucher system. This is shite from start to finish. So we've been in contact with some of the aid agencies, some of the groups, and we also got in contact with a bank. We got in contact with the Co-op Bank, who are so concerned with the situation that they are prepared to support and help us to find a credit union that will operate a voucher scheme. So refugees can put the vouchers in, take loans out, the vouchers will be distributed, hopefully we'll be able to use them, and we can then start to beat the stigma and allow asylum seekers some dignity. What have we got? Oh, we've got a couple. Oh, hey! We've chipped off two. We've chipped off two. Yes, sirree, Bob. You want to play the voting game with the Daily Mail readers? We'll play you back. We're cutting them up one for one.